Okay, people, today I have the pleasure of talking to Deborah Correa.
Correa. Yeah.
Correa, okay. Deborah Correa about her new film and I believe her debut feature film, right? The War Between. Deborah, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No problem at all. So, yeah, is this your feature directorial debut?
Yes. Yes, it's my very first feature film.
Okie dokie. Right, yeah, but you've got you know a number of shorts, right? You've been producing a lot. So I feel like, you're not, what I mean, like you're not aware of like the processes and everything, right? Like you started in 2005 about.
About that, yeah, I worked in documentary first. So that was right after Emerson College because I had focused on narrative and documentary as well. As my
Mm,
thesis project was a short documentary that was me returning to Colombia to visit the country and also to follow a town that had been displaced by the narco-terrorism, and there was a massacre in that town. So it was, I think it must have been 7 years later. I have to double check that. They were returning to this little village that was now in ruins, and it was them about picking it back up, starting fresh. And so I documented that return with my one of my colleagues, and we got lucky with Frontline with that one. So it kind of kicked things off, and I was working in documentary for a bit.
right. Oh man, that sounds really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that being your first thing, like how how was that, right? Because I guess you learn stuff in school, you know. They teach you, right, this is the process, this is how you go about this is how you go about that. But jumping into a situation like that, you can't teach that.
Right.
So, what was that experience like? I mean, when you were thinking about doing it to actually being on the ground, how much of a gulf was there between those expectations?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I had lived there in the 90s earlier with my family because my dad is from Colombia. And we were there like at the height of when things were bad with the
Mm,
narco terrorism and Pablo Escobar, and there was regular kidnappings, regular car bombs, a lot of violence. And that was a very formative time for me. Like I feel like I changed a lot and it helped build perspective, but it also made me it created the desire in me to do film, like to be a
yeah,
storyteller. So based off of my experience, because we lived in Medellin and it was a very intense time. And so I was like, well, nothing can be as crazy as that. I'm going back. Like my dad did come with us, and we were excited to go. We saw it more as an adventure.
yeah,
And it was almost like because you're younger and you feel like invincible, you're like, yeah, nothing
yeah.
bad's gonna happen. We'll be fine. And I have been thinking about this recently because we we worked, there was like a government program that was helping the displaced return. So it was this displaced village.
Right.
And we were going to be with the Colombian military. So it was like the Colombian military and the town itself. We were going back all together. And it was a very emotional return
Hmm.
because they had been away for so long. And there was a massacre in the town square and children were killed. So
Oh,
it was a very traumatizing thing. But there was still FARC and paramilitary factions in the area, and they
mm,
weren't stopping yet. There was like a
yeah,
little bit of a lull, but not full fledged. It wasn't completely stopped. So talking to like the young Colombian military men, they were like 19, really young,
oof,
and they were so proud to be there to help this town return. But after we were there for, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 days, and, like, we had to figure out how we're gonna drink water and, like, all this stuff because we were just trekking on donkeys into this mud-sucking jungle because it had rained, and I think Le Figaro Press was there too, that French newspaper, um, but we didn't I just don't think that we realized the danger of it until we were there, and I remember as we were, like, going through the trail on the donkeys, I was hearing, like, bird calls, but it was, like, whistling. It wasn't bird calls, it was actual people with their
Yeah,
calls.
giving messages,
And I
right?
didn't know who I don't know what side it was. I don't know who it was. Um, but we did our very best to document, the people that were returning, their story, how they were feeling, the pride they had, how much they wanted to work and do their agricultural farming,
Mm,
and how they were so sick of the violence. They were done. And this was their stance. They're like, "We are taking a stand. We're coming back no matter what." Um, but after 3 days, I remember it was my friend Brittany. She was the one who was filming it with me and doing it with me, producing it with me. She or I had a dream. I don't know which one it was. And we had a dream that the FARC came and kidnapped us. It was like
oh,
it was almost like this like warning dream. And then the next
yeah.
day there were these young teenage boys who came and they were mad we were there and they were slightly threatening. And I remember just having this red flag in me and being like, okay, we're actually putting ourselves in danger and the town in danger because we look American. Well, we are American.
Yeah.
I'm half Colombian, but we are American. And so like they look for those type of targets because they think they can make money off of it. It's more of like a
Yes.
bargaining chip. So I just remember being like, okay, I think it's time for us to leave. And then the government agency we were with, they told us like, we really think it's better if you leave. I think we had been there 3 days. And we did that. We, like, ended up going back that day, same way on donkeys, trudging through the jungle. And it was a little bit scary because I heard those whistle calls again, and I think a couple hours before we got to our destination, a car had been held up and the people in it had been shot. So,
Ooh,
we were really lucky, and it's like that youthful thing where it's like, "I'm gonna be on this adventure, and we're gonna
yeah.
tell this story," and I do know that the people there, they were very they felt supported and heard, like we were sharing their story.
Mm, mm.
But all of it was, like, quite a learning experience. And for a while, I was like, "Maybe I should get more into journalism and reporting," because I felt so like, I loved being there, and it felt like this really good challenge for
Yeah.
me. But I was and I still love it, like, part of me is like, "Maybe I should get more into journal." I still have those things rolling through my head, but I feel like documentary and film have really, like, serviced that and been, like, the way that I tell story and share through art.
Yeah. Well, kind of really, when you think about it, a documentarian is also a journalist,
Yeah,
just
that's
under a different name, because you're telling stories, but in a visual format rather than a written format. So you're essentially doing the same things, but, and it seems right now, especially, you would have more freedom because a journalist at a newspaper, that journalism isn't the same as it used to be.
mm,
You know what I mean? You used to
mhm.
get these open eds, these really in-depth pieces that looked at these things, but weren't going, this is the right thing, this is the wrong. It would just paint this picture for you. Now they're more like these
Siphoned, yeah.
opinion pieces where it's just like, well, I believe, well, I know, it's usually, I know these people are wrong, these people are right, and this is how you should think. And it's all, a lot of times it's clickbaity, it's shorter, right?
Yeah,
There's not,
it almost, like, feeds into more polarization and therefore more attention because it
yeah.
triggers
Well,
that
that,
need.
that that's the thing. It's trying to create a reaction so you are further on a certain side.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's very clickbaity because, newspapers need to get more revenue, right? They're not making money as they used to. So I guess you could go in with this great insight. I want to tell this story about these people returning to their village. And you're like, I don't think our readership wants that,
Mm-hmm.
but you as a documentarian, you can go and just tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
Obviously
really
there's
good
the
point.
financing and all of that you have to work out, but it still feels like it's more freedom to tell and inform, you know?
Yeah, there's some amazing journalists that I really admire, and I think they're still doing really great work. Like Jane Ferguson is one. They just take that risk and they do the work and they go in deep. And I think that there's people who want that still. Like, but
Yeah.
the frontline world, like that is such a great platform. And I think there should be more like that, more access to news like that, to stories
Yeah.
like that.
Well, a lot of those people are now just doing it independently,
Yes.
doing a Substack and things like that. And so,
True.
you can go and get more in-depth things, but just, you know, on an independent scale, but it's got
Mhm.
less restrictions. The only issue is finding those things.
But yes, it's like knowing about it, and that's
Mm.
true. Mhm.
Yeah, that is the thing. So, yeah, that sounds like a crazy experience to be your first,
Yeah.
thing out the gate.
True. We were
So,
like, "Bring it on." No, we yeah, it was, that, and it was sobering too, because you learn
mm,
there's a lot of ethics around it when you tell the story that have nothing to do with you. It's
yes.
like you about the people whose story you're telling and their safety, as well. So it was I just remember being like a little bit like, because you're young, you're like, I think it was our senior project at Emerson, our senior thesis project at Emerson College. Um, and you're still learning so much, in the
Mm.
process of learning so much.
Well, yeah, and I think when you're young, you don't really understand the nuances, because also the things you're ingesting are like good, bad, right, wrong.
Mm.
You know what I mean? We don't get gray area.
I
So,
Yeah, I think, like, the documentary classes that we took there, though, it was I remember, I will never forget it, 'cause our teacher's name was John Vito, and he was all about this range of documentary work that showed the gray.
okay.
And I remember we were really affected by that class. It was called, like, Documentary and Social something, where you learn a lot about the Latin American documentary filmmakers. Like, Patricio Guzman was a huge influence, and the way that he tells the story is like it's through testimony, but it's generational. So it's like that
Mm,
generation that's growing up next, like what they've heard, what their narrative was, and then the realization of how the truth comes, and they're like, "Wait, what? That's not how we grew up. That's not what we learned."
yeah, yeah.
So it was a lot of that we watched and studied before, and it was great because then it gives you that framework that you don't have to use binaries. It's not really about that. It really is the human experience and
Mm,
seeing each other's humanity in that. And I think that really was a big part of going to film school, but then also doing it yourself. Like, when you're actually on the ground doing it, that's when you learn the most.
yes.
The execution of it, right? So from beginning to end, inception to getting it seen. And that to me has always been like the most rich learning experiences is when I'm actually doing. School is great for a foundation and network,
Mm,
but
mm.
the execution of it has just been incredibly like a great learning experience for every single thing, from every documentary project to every short film project, and now to this feature film.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I can definitely see like traits of that learning in this film. From what you've just said, I kind of see it in the film, which is really interesting, I feel. Ah, so how long did you stay in documentary? Documentary work. Yeah.
I'm actually still in documentary work. I worked on a documentary last summer that Gary Sinise hosts about the stories of more of lesser known veterans and their stories.
Okay.
And I still work in documentary, and my focus is archival producing, so that I do a lot of research to find the visuals to help tell the story with
Yeah. Yeah.
historical accuracy. So it's like I find like that's more in my niche, where I love logistics and project management and doing the production managing, but I really think archival producing is where I feel very creative and where I'm facilitating story. So I still am doing that, and
Oh.
it pairs very well with narrative.
Mm. Well, as I said, yeah, you see those parallels within this story, which is, yeah. So let's get into the war between. Like, what led you to tell a story about the Civil War? Because we've had a lot, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of fertile ground out there with this. So, what made you think, okay, I feel that there is this something that I can add?
That's a good question, because the writer Ron, he had pitched this idea to me. I want to say it was a year and a half before we actually shot it, so it was a very fast evolution of
Mm,
the film. First and foremost, it was the historical context, the historical facts of it. So I did not know that the Civil War was fought as far west as Tucson, Arizona. I didn't know it was like a Western story as well. I thought it was just certain parts of the South and the East.
yeah.
And when Ron went into detail about it, and we found out that there was actually this volunteer force from California that they were called the California Column, and they were pushing the Confederacy out of California and out of the Southwest. And as we learned more about that, I was just fascinated, because even like the memoir accounts of it, the guys would describe these California volunteers as like these big blonde guys, almost like modern day surfer guys, like the stereotype of Californians. I thought that was fun and interesting. But also, it was referenced in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And Ron Yungul, who wrote it, that was his initial idea of like, wait, let me see if this is actually accurate. And as he was like, because Colonel Canby is mentioned in the Arizona Territory, and as he was like peeling away these historical layers, he was like, oh my God, this was true. This happened. There was a couple battles. The one at Picacho Peak was the westernmost battle with casualties, and it was at the base of this like interesting mountain formation called Picacho Peak. So as we were looking more into it, we realized we could actually shoot where the battle took place, which
Ooh.
was really cool.
Mm,
And there was more too, as like the subtext of it felt very timely. Um, it's like this really tough questions of who's right and who's wrong,
yeah.
and even like framing those kinds of framing it that way. Why do we do that? Right. So there was layers there in the subtext of it that we wanted to kind of explore. And just, I also was very much of the mind that we could do this for low budget, because it would be mostly on location outside with very minimal characters.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, we can like logistically execute this. I know we can do it. And which was great, because it was really exciting. We're like, yeah, we're going to do this for this. And then as we kept moving forward with it, Ron kept building the story. And so he ended up writing a bigger story, because it was just supposed to be these two guys in the desert. And it ended up being much more, with other characters coming in. And so then it was more of a challenge with our shoot, but it made it much more exciting. And I think the story's more rich and layered because of that now.
Interesting. There was talking about the nuance, right? One bit that I thought was really interesting was when oh god, the seer comes into it, great
Yeah.
seer, like
Yes.
Wayne Charles Baker's character,
Yes. Yes.
and he's injured, right? So there's all of that, like, Israel wants to kill him. Moses is like, no, 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 no. And then
Mhm.
Moses goes to Israel. I thought he was one of your people. He's a human. And Israel's like, no, he's a heathen
Mm.
and doesn't deserve to inherit the land. And it's like, on one side, Israel is fighting to end slavery, but doesn't see the irony in taking land from this group of people, which
Correct.
I thought was just
Yeah.
like, whoa. And then you've got Moses, who is fighting to keep slavery, though I do know that there was kind of more to the war than that, right? But essentially that's what it was. But he's fighting for that, but he's friends with the Navajo.
The Apache. Yeah, but Native,
The
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's so interesting that you have those things, you know what I mean? But they are enemies, kind of.
Right. Right. Because I think too, it's hard to hold multiple truths at the same time. And when we look back at history, there's a tendency to whitewash or to overly simplify it.
Oh, cool.
The truth
Yes.
of the matter was the Union Army was committing genocide against the Native Americans as they were fighting against slavery.
Yeah.
It was also Native Americans fighting with the Confederacy. So it's like there are multiple layers to things. And when you just assign columns of good and bad, you miss the point, which
Mm-hmm.
is when you connect with somebody and you connect to their humanity and you get to know them as a person, you change.
Yeah.
It changes you. There's an evolution of how you feel about somebody. It's much harder to be violent with somebody that you now sympathize with. And I think that we're really missing that now because there's a lot of historical accounts that I don't think get enough airtime. Like the story of George Wallace and Shirley Chisholm, where there was an assassination attempt on him. He was shot 5 times, and he was a complete segregationist, very racist Southern figure. And Shirley Chisholm was a Black politician, and her constituency. He was shot, and she was like, "I'm going to go visit him." And her constituency was like, "Don't you dare! Why would you do that? Please don't do that. He's our enemy. He's a racist. He's evil. He's everything we're fighting against." And she's like, "He's a person. I'm going to go visit him."
Mm.
She went to go visit him. And he was like, "Shirley, why are you here?" And he shouldn't be here. And she held his hand and he didn't want her to leave. They became very close friends and he completely changed from
Mm.
that experience of getting to know Shirley Chisholm. And she reached out her hand to him when people that were on her side were saying no. And she took that risk. He ended up disavowing his past and the racism that he espoused. He asked civil rights leaders to forgive him, and he helped Shirley pass her reform bills. So it's like, I don't know. I would love if we could learn more about those stories and see
Yeah.
how this human interaction and this love of connecting, it changes people. There's an arc. It's not like they have one linear point A to point B. And I want to champion that.
Mm. Well, I think that is the way we change things, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because, and we've seen so many examples of that.
Yes.
There's that, I cannot think of his name, but there's a documentary about him came out on Netflix I say a few years ago. It could be longer. Time is all like, oof.
I know, right?
Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, that was just the other day, right? And it was like, that was 10 years ago. And you're just like, oh my God, it just feels like it was the other day. It's crazy.
Yes. And then
But
some things that are more recent feel way longer ago.
oh,
It's so
for
strange.
sure. For sure. Which is
Yeah.
bonkers, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, it's this documentary about this guy who made an effort to talk to members of the Ku Klux Klan.
Mm.
And he
Mhm.
would talk to these grand dragons and all of this kind of thing. And at the end, these guys would give him their cloaks. And a lot of the thing was, I've never had a conversation with a black person before. I
Wow.
was told you were all stupid. I was told like this thing and that thing and blah, blah, blah. But you're like me. And I feel crazy that I had these like preconceptions that
Yeah.
weren't true.
Yeah.
And, there is, I don't know if you watch the UFC at all, but you watch the
Sometimes.
UFC?
I
Okay.
love them. My brothers they're jiu-jitsu black belts, so I was watching them for a while, but yeah.
Oh, the UFC have just launched their own jiu-jitsu promotion now.
Oh, wow.
UFC BJJ. Yeah, they've had 2 events. There's an event coming up at oh gosh, I feel it's the end of September
Oh,
or
that's
it's the beginning of
cool. Okay.
October. But yeah, really, really good. There's that. There was an EBI the other day as well, Eddie Bravo International. That was very good.
Oh, fun. Okay.
But yeah, but there's a fighter called Sean Strickland. He can be very polarizing, right? He did win the middleweight title last year, beat Israel Adesanya. It was a great fight, great fight. But he has talked a lot about his past, about growing up. Like when he was growing up, like his dad, not nice, you know what I mean? A horrible environment he grew up in. And he was taught that black people were pieces of shit.
Mm.
Right. And so he lived, in a trailer, in a part of the country, I forget where, but there was not really any diversity. So as he's older, he meets some black people. I can't remember if it was at school or something like that, but he then realizes, wait, they're not what I was told, and changes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, and he talks about it and he's like, look, you can, just because you are, I mean, you might have been given a certain idea, you can change that. You know what I'm saying? Like, educate yourself. Like, there's no need to hate people if you don't know people.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And there's so many instances where you hear about people hating someone, but they don't know that these people, they've never met these people,
Yeah.
Like I worked with a guy, not people, but he was always, I don't like Chinese food. I can't, not, I hate Chinese food. I don't. And one day we were like, I mean, what did you eat? What was the things? Because there's probably a load that you might like. He's like, oh, I've never tried it. I just think I'd hate it. And we were just like, wait, what? And so we went out and we went to a Chinese spot and we're like, look, knowing the stuff you like, you'll probably like this. He ate it, loved it, and then always wanted to get Chinese food. You know what I mean? Which is just like, yo. Like when he said, I'd never tried it, we're just like, wait, what is happening here?
Right.
It's crazy, you know what I mean? But people have those preconceived notions, right? And I thought that was an interesting thing about Israel Moses. Like the more they talked, there was this, breaking down of this wall that was there between the two of them. But I like the fact that it wasn't quick.
Mm-hmm.
Is sometimes with these kind of things, it's just one conversation and now we're best buddies. And it's just like,
yes, that's a good point, because like as you're shooting it, it's completely out of order when you're shooting it. And when you have like, you're plotting out the emotional beats in the arc, and you're like, okay, this is going to work here, it's going to work here. And Damian Conrad-Davis, who plays Israel, and then Sam Bullington, who plays Moses, they were very cognizant and very aware about the emotional beats as we were going in, and making sure like, okay, this is where we're at this moment, and like mapping it out with them. And then just having a very clear, strong motivation for the scene itself. So it was challenging to keep that on point. And I was like, even like because I think the most challenging for me with this film was post. And with the editor, he was cutting together the assembly, and he's like, oh yeah, this is working. I'm like, really? This is a miracle. I didn't know if it was going to cut together because it was so choppy. And it's like, are they going to seem like these like, like really like off point emotional beats?
Yeah, because that is one thing that's always it always feels so crazy to me, like crazy in the fact that you are able to pull this thing off and make something work. Because when you have a film like this, or what I mean, just so many different things with all of this nuance, right? And feel like there's a part when people hate, and there's this crazy, just like, I want to kill you, you make me sick. And then at the end it's like, oh my God, I'm so glad I met you. You're like, and it's just like you're filming these things out of sequence. So you might film a bit at the beginning when you're best friends, and then you have to do another scene. Well, now I want to kill them. And so to get that, going from, hey, let's go out, and then having to do a scene where there's this rage, and be like, yo, trying to get your emotions back up there, and that is like, you know what I mean? It always feels like that must be one of the toughest parts of doing all of this stuff,
Yeah, that was definitely the out of orderness of it for this particular story was extremely challenging for me. And the actors did an amazing job. Like, I was so blown away by their presence. Like, they were there. This is the scene. They're very present in that moment. And they had a great dynamic that worked, and it was very believable. Like, the chemistry, the dynamic they had was very, very potent, and very like, it didn't feel fake. It didn't feel stagey. It was like, it was real. And I think too, it's like the logistics. It's like you're as a director, you're trying to balance the actual production logistics of making sure that the aesthetics of it match, because the sun is constantly moving. So we had to make sure we were tracking sun and staying in with the continuity of being, because we were outside almost 80% of the time. And so it was like that part of my brain, and the efficiency time ticking part of my brain. It's almost like I have to ignore that to be in the moment with the actors. And it's like, it was making me feel like by the end of the day, it was like, it's very like challenging for me to do that, because I want to make sure that we have coverage and we have everything we need, and we're within our parameters, and we shot everything in 15 days. So it was extremely fast.
Ooh.
But then it was like, with them, I wanted them to have the space to work. And there were so many times where I was shocked at how soon we got to where we needed to go. So there was like sometimes just 2 takes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Like, how do you keep track of everything? Like, do you storyboard? Like, are you, when it comes to shooting, and you've got your scenes out of sequence, like, are you like taking note of the time and then trying to go, okay, so the sun is this degree from this point. So then when you come back, you can go, okay, where's the sun?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
sure, that matches. Because
we knew it was going to be really challenging since everything was outside. I took a week with the cinematographer, Evan J. Cohen. I went to Emerson with him too. That's where I met him, at Emerson College. And he shoots all my stuff. He's amazing. Very, very, very artistic, accomplished cinematographer. And I actually learned a lot from him working with him on this, because he was in charge. He was keeping track of the sun pass. We would visit the location. So we did a whole week of pre-visualization prep. So we we break down the script, make our shot lists. We storyboarded the more complicated scenes. And then we went on location. I had these little pink surveyor flags. And there's an app called Artemis. And you use this to know your frames, what kind of lens you want to be on, a 50 millimeter, 35, like that kind of thing. And we used our 2 PAs as stand-ins. And we would block the scenes with them and be like, we're going to use this frame and we're going to use this type of lens here. And this is exactly where we're going to put it. So we would say, okay, we're going to shoot it in these exact locations in this, take for instance, around the stage depot.
Yeah.
So then I would stick the flag exactly where we would position them so that when we came back, we knew, okay, this setup is going to be right here outside the depot. And we're going to be on this lens. And with Artemis, you're able to print out a PDF of all of your frames. So you can visualize exactly what frame you're going to shoot for that sequence. And then also like you kind of figure out the blocking.
Yeah.
But when I'm on location with the actors, I want their movement to be natural. So I reblock it with them. It's like I have the general idea of what I want them to do, but then they do their natural, that what they would do to make it really locked into their individuality. So that pre-visualization process, doing it with the cinematographer, with Evan, and mapping out exactly what setups we were going to have. And then we have a schedule from the first AD that we're working from. So we know, and we have conversations like based off the sun position for these setups, we can shoot these scenes. But then at, near sunset, then we have to do this kind of coverage if we miss anything. So make sure like the light matches. So the first AD was Rusty Case. And I said, I see some level of genius because he took this 100-page script and broke it down into 15 days of shooting. And we did it. Like, it was like the map. It was our map. It was the schedule of how we're going to do it based off the cinematographer's notes on the sun paths and the locations, and those are the priorities. The continuity of it is the priority, making sure that it's real and there feels real. And then the second thing would be the emotional process. Well, can the actors do it? And that's the thing that was so amazing about them, is that they were there. They were able to like lock into that moment, even though they had just done maybe something very tragic, So that was such a gift, but it was a lot of organization because we had such short amount of time.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's it's very impressive. Very impressive, man. Boy, like I think the thing with this, all the aspects, right? All the components work really well. You've got great cast and the lines that are like everyone. Even when you think about Charlotte, right? Essa O'Shea, she's not in it a lot, but when she has to deliver, man, there's some great bits. She's like her kind of monologue at the end. Ooh.
So glad, Kevin. She is a very talented actor. I've worked with her on a short film prior to this, and I know her range. And I was so excited to cast her in this role because I knew she could like do exactly what we needed for it. And she really does. And she brings like a very like a depth to Israel.
Yeah.
And it's the story. And then she becomes to me, she's like the beating heart of the story. But
well, she brings it home.
Yes.
And like sets that final tone
Yes.
for what this is, because Deborah, you do fuck us up with these endings, right? Like there's two moments at the end and it's just like, Jesus Christ, no, like, after all, come on. And then you think, shit, okay, well, at least, and then suddenly, no, okay, and then like my man's just like, just bind him, and you're just like, oh, come on, like, what else is she gonna do to us, man? This is bullshit. Like, what else is she gonna do to us? So yeah, like Charlotte really does. Even but like the way she says it, what she says, there's this depth to it, right? There's this
Yes.
emotion and there's this depth to it. And it's not necessarily happy. It's kind of this bittersweet thing,
Mm,
but it is very poignant,
yes.
right? So it kind of takes you up from where you're feeling to this thing that is like there's these seeds of hope there. And so you're left with this, at least this feeling of, I mean, there could be positive change, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, I'm so encouraged that you're saying that, because I uh, that is our intention with this film, and the intention with her character, and the intention with the, and I don't know if a lot of people hone in on it or get it, but we haven't released it yet. We'll see how it goes, but it's almost like certain people want to focus on very narrow perspective of the story,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the way
yeah.
that we ended is the the most important message of it, with the great seer and with her, and it's like there is a way forward,
Mm,
and it's more evolved,
yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah,
it comes through her, and I that was very important for me
yeah.
to really show that, and to take that risk with what we did. you know
Mm.
um
I thought it was clear because there is that duplicity. And so there could be the notion of burn it all down,
mm,
but then you don't. And yeah, these lines of delivery and her just, the imagery of her and just all of this, it really, yeah, it kind of makes you feel like, okay, there can be a better future,
mhm,
you know? It kind of reminds me of, and obviously, a very derisive figure, right? Very derisive figure. People hate him, people like him, but I kind of felt like Trump said something. I can't remember if it was last year or maybe in his first term. That why why are we cheering for this Ukraine war? Like, do we not just want it to end? Let's try and find some sort of peace because too many people are dying. Like, how many more people do you want to die?
mhm,
Right. And
mhm.
then you had some people going, oh, no, we want them to continue. They've got to do, do all of this and do all of that. And it's just like there's got to be an end, right? What we need to look for the end rather than ways to continue things. And that's what she's kind of saying. Look, why are we looking to keep this thing going?
Yeah, I think there has to be a conscious awareness to stop the cycle of violence.
Yeah.
There's a, like, again, like going back to that story with Shirley Chisholm, like she consciously stopped that cycle, and she reached out her hand to George Wallace, like literally reached out to him. And
Mm,
I see something there that's powerful, and that is an off ramp to violence, to the
yeah.
self perpetuating violence. That there's like last year a movie came out. I don't know if you saw it, but it was called Civil War. The Civil
Yeah.
War that Alex Garland.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
I I thought that film was excellent because he did not make a very clear distinction between sides. Like obviously that you see the president is dictatorial because
Mm,
he's like going into like a third or term or something. But he was very conscious of showing like this is what happens when you entrench yourself so deep that you can't see anything else.
Yeah.
And there was no like identifying exactly who was who or what was what. It was just the violence.
Yeah.
And there was something powerful for me with that film where I was like, he is really landing on something important where it's like, do we really want to go here? Like,
Mm.
because this is what it looks like. And it was a very anti-violence message for me. And it helped me find words to describe more with what I felt with the war between. And I was encouraged by him and by that film because it's showing that it's almost like the war between is saying like we can do this instead of that. What Civil
Yeah.
War showed. So I felt a parallel with it a little bit as we were finishing the film, and then I actually saw Civil War when we did our Phoenix premiere. Because after our Phoenix premiere, we ended up having to recut some stuff. But I watched it that same weekend, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's some very interesting parallels here. And I would watch his interviews, and I was very encouraged by by acknowledging that entrenching yourself deeper and this feeling of this tribal, belonging to one side.
Yeah.
How that's actually not evolved. It's not the way forward.
No.
And
No.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that movie affected me in the end of it too. Like I don't want to give it away, but the very end of it was exactly this reminder of something that I experienced when I was younger in Colombia. And well, okay, so like we were there and like Pablo Escobar was killed. He was killed. He was like on a roof running, and I will never forget it because we were in Medellin, and our entire time there, he was like the scary boogeyman because
Yeah.
of the car bombs and the violence and the hits on the police and the focus on kidnappings and the corruption. And we wanted it to end.
Mm.
But when he was killed, it was this kind of like conflicted feeling. Like our entire neighborhood ran out in the streets celebrating. They were so happy he was killed because for them, it signaled that the violence would be over.
Yes.
But then the picture on the front of the paper was like they had hunted an animal and he was dead. And it was like the
Yeah.
police around his body holding his dead body. And like they show, like in Colombia, like you see very graphic aftermaths of violence. And I remember being little and seeing that and being like horrified by it. But
Mm.
also like, well, he's dead now, so that's good, right? And with there was that dichotomy and that contrast. Like when I saw that end of Civil War, I was like, holy it's like the same
Mm.
feeling. And then later on I read like, oh, he was like actually bringing that idea back because he referenced that. So it
Oh.
completely hit home for me where I was like, I saw the connection. But yeah, it like there's something to that, right? Because you
Oh,
think
for sure.
you think that the ending of somebody and the violent ending of somebody, it's good, but the way that it happens, you're like, is that
Yeah.
celebrated? Yeah.
Yes. It's like when Saddam Hussein was killed, right? Because I think they had him in the streets, and someone took a bayonet and
Or what
penetrated him
was
from
it
behind.
Gaddafi? Was that Gaddafi? I feel like it was Gaddafi, right?
Oh no, yes,
Yeah.
yes, my bad.
Yeah.
That was Gaddafi. Yeah, and it's kind of like, ooh, it's just
Mhm.
you you want an end to like this dictatorship, and so the people did horrendous things, right? But it's the way it's done is a
Mhm.
bit like, okay, if we're trying to bring in peace and change, can you do it off of that? Right? Like,
It's a
is that,
very interesting question, right? Because
yeah.
and it's a little scary to even talk about because you don't wanna promote anything bad. You're like, this person did evil things.
Mm.
I mean, Pablo Escobar was a terrorizer.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Horrible, horrible things. So yeah, it's a very challenging question for people. Yeah.
Well, because if you say, that did we have to do it like that? Yeah. Oh, what did you like him? Did you want him to? Did you? And you're just like, yo, that's not what I said,
Right.
right? That's not
Right.
what I said. It's just looking. If we are trying to promote peace and harmony, it's hard to do it when that is the thing. Like, stop him, put them in prison, right? At least have a trial and hold them accountable to all the things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
at the end of the trial, maybe you put them in the chair or the injection, or, maybe you do that. But at least have a trial, right?
Yeah.
At least be like, how do you answer for all of these things? Let's at least do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because then you can say, okay, we held to this sort of justice. Because it kind of goes, okay, these people, we want to depose these people because they didn't believe in a justice system. They don't like you, they take you and kill you. But then to get justice, that's kind of what we did.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Is it
mean?
like
So it's
the
just,
ends justify the means? It's like that
yeah.
kind of.
So it is, yeah, it's definitely that thing that you kind of really have to ponder and go, Because a lot of the times it's kind of like, why did you choose to do it now when this has been going on for so long? But
Yeah.
only now you decide to do something. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, I can't remember. There was, I think it's Zimbabwe. There was all of these atrocities going on there, and no one was trying to stop that. But then you're going, oh, in this region of the world, yes, we got to stop that, and we got to do this, and we got to do, in
Yeah. I
Nigeria,
think.
like schoolgirls are kidnapped all the time, blah, 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 but we don't want to do it. We're not doing anything about that, but we're just doing something about this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting how people follow it. Whatever the media is talking about, we follow. And I think it's important to step back and think for yourself. Think for
Mm,
yourself. Have enough self-awareness and self-reflection and objectivity to be like, these are the conversations that the media are framing and they're important. And there's also these conversations that they're not framing or focusing
yeah,
on that are also important. And to remember that, like, this is, yeah. I really, like, over the past decade, it's it's like a challenge to myself to not get sucked into one narrative and to really think for
yes,
myself and have my own opinions about it, and to do research on it or read more about it or see, like, access to exposure on it is important. And that's why we were talking about journalism and how important it is
mm,
for independent journalism to start, doing more stories. But I think that's where it's easy to fall into that encampment trap
oh,
because
for
it's been
sure.
set up that way, and then you have to really just fiercely think for yourself.
Yeah, even though sometimes information is hard to find,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because then you learn how Google narrow kind of, oh, god damn it. Trying to think of words today, man. Like, yo. Um, it's kind of curating. Oh, yeah,
yes,
there we
yes.
go.
It's
It's
a good word for that.
curating the search for you. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, tell me about this. And they'll be like, oh, we'll give you this side of the story, but nothing else. We're not
Right.
going to pinpoint you to these other conflicting views. We're just going to give you these views.
Yeah, yeah. It's very important to keep aware of that.
Mm, yes. Because I haven't heard of that George Wallace story.
Right, and, like, I recently saw a story on that from, the Free Press. It's, Barry Weiss has the free press that
Mm.
she put the New York Times, I think it was in 2020, and she started her own media company. And I like their coverage because it's like people with all kinds of opinions. It's not like one party and Eli Lake does a podcast called Breaking History, and he brings that story back. And I was like, that's good. That's great that we're reminded of those important stories. And so I see like little like spots of light out there. Still.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of different kind of podcasts, and some like you'll hear about a certain thing or a different side of something, and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, right. No one's talking about that.
Right.
That's interesting. No
Right.
one mentioned that. You know what I mean? And so you get these other things, and you're just like, ooh, which is just, yeah, it's bonkers. It's just bonkers.
Yeah, because it's a
How you
little
get.
bit like I even now like it's a little putting yourself out there with a film like this, like it's a little bit scary, but I think it's important to tell stories that challenge people's thought processes and reevaluate how we're connecting with each other. And it's just a very fraught time right now with politics and media.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is kind of crazy.
I've never experienced this. Like I really I remember life before 9/11 and after 9/11. I think like 9/11 changed a lot and there's started some of this trajectory, but it's just never been like this before where it's so heated and like the temperature's so high. And I think it's important to like let's bring it down. Let's like remember who we are.
Well, I think it's the internet, right? Because back in the day, you knew what was going on in your small circle, but you didn't know what was further afield necessarily, right? So you kind of look at things being, oh, so this is the climate, but you don't know what it is over there, right? You don't know kind of like what you're thinking in Colombia. You don't know what someone else is thinking in Italy or France or blah, 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 blah. So you're just like, oh, this is what people are thinking. But it's, as then that sphere of influence opens up, we can see all of these other nuances and things. Like the amount of times I've seen like clips, if I go onto X, and it's a video and they're just like, oh, this is this is the state of America right now. And then I might see that same video and they're like, this is the state of the UK right now. And I'm just like, that's the same video that they were talking about. You know what I mean? And there's sometimes, and it's just like, it's so glaring, but they think they can get away with this thing, right? And the like you see these other videos, right? And you see this thing that's gone on, there's a fight, right? And it's between, say black people and white people. And the comment box underneath might be like, that's why, blacks ruin everything.
Oh,
right?
God.
And then you'll see another box sometimes, and it might be like, the whites always think this. And you're just like, sometimes you see these things and you're like, I don't know if people really write like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It always feels very, what do you call it? Not chat box, but you know what I mean? Botty, right? It doesn't feel real. But there's so much of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to like who's are people just making money off the division? Is divisiveness and division just making them money? Like,
because it's like sometimes it's like click through to the greater story, and I think either you click through and you might get to this story, or you're getting infected with something. I don't know, but I think sometimes it is the more people click a link, the more people watch something, right? That generates revenue.
that's the problem. Yeah. I think it's really important to stop and to go outside and to see your friends. Like
Mhm.
my son the other day, he's like, no more screen time. We need to go outside and look at the sky and get some sun. Like he's 8 years old, and even he's like very aware of that, right? I think that is important to keep in mind
Oh,
for
yeah.
everybody.
Oh, most definitely. Because I just like, yeah, it was funny because, as a little kid, you grow up and you're outside in the streets playing football and messing around. And it's kind of like not, oh, no, you can't play because you're Jewish. It's just like, oh, you like football? All right, cool. Let's play. Would you want to be a goalie? We need a goalie. Do you want to be a goalie? You know what I mean? That's it. It's just like you're not going, this game's only for these
Mm-hmm.
people or
Mm-hmm.
that people. You're like, oh, you like it? All right, let's do this. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But then I think as you get older, that's when a lot of this stuff starts to come, right? They're trying to give you these divisions of you should
Right.
like these people and hate these people, blah, 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 blah. And it's just so odd. It's
Right.
so odd.
It is odd. It's so odd because it's something that feels very on purpose. And we don't like I don't experience that in my actual like social day-to-day life. I
Mm,
only see it online. And I
yeah,
think that the very loud, fringy, hateful stuff is from a very minimal part of the population, but it's the loudest online. And so
yes,
we get a very
yeah,
distorted view of what is reality, like what's actually going on, because all of that chatter gets promoted because it's so like shocking.
yeah.
And I think that's the cognitive dissonance where it's like, wait, no, that's not how life is. And so it's just being very aware of that and spending less time online. And I don't do a lot of social media in general because I don't have time, but I also just think it's not healthy.
Oh,
It's not good for your mind.
no, it's not. I mean, even just seeing praise, that's not healthy.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
Because then that makes people and you see people clamoring for that, right? And being like, "Oh, well, this and this," and you're just like, "Oh, like, why would you even post that
Right.
on this thing? Why are you telling people you don't know? Like, then surely that's information for your close-knit friends, if that, right? Like, it's not to put out to the masses."
Yeah, and I see a backlash to this. Like, I don't think the I think the generation growing up now is like kind of getting sick of it all because it's so
Mm.
disconnected from reality and their life, and I just don't see it being sustainable. This the constant online chatter. To me, it's just not a sustainable thing, and it really narrows your experience of people in life if that's like where you spend a lot of your time.
Oh, for
So,
sure, for sure. That I think that's why it's so important to have, films like The War Between, because because we don't come into this going, Israel is our good guy, Moses is bad, right? It's just we see these two people, you know what I mean? And just through like you're kind of seeing at the beginning, maybe Moses is a bit duplicitous. Du-
yeah.
you know the word. It's
Yes.
that word. Yeah. Insert here, right? But it's because he's like ripping up pages and burning, and you're just like, ooh, no, 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 no. But you you you're there with him. You're there with Israel, and we're just seeing them navigate, this landscape and their differences. And that's very interesting. And it shows that you can start off here, but then get to here. You know what I mean? And that's where you meet here.
Mhm.
Right. And I
Mhm.
think that's so important to see. you know?
Yeah.
And I think when people see things like that, because it is this little chipping away, you know, because I think as like, it was with this, I don't know, because, you know, obviously I don't watch kids shows anymore, right? But like growing up, there was things like He-Man and Transformers and, you know, all of these cartoons, and they'd end with these cheesy messages.
Yeah.
As a 5-year-old, you don't see them as cheesy. You're like, yeah, Optimus Prime, you'd say it. But it's just like, hey, kids, as you can see, me and Bumblebee, we had an argument, but we're friends, so we choked it out. And that is what you should do. And you're like, yeah, Optimus, yeah. But you, you know, and you're seeing that in He-Man and She-Ra and the Care Bear and just all of these different things. So I think just seeing that, right, it kind of imprints. So when you're having an argument with Steve at school, you're just like, hey, what would Optimus do? You're like, oh, I know. Steve, we're friends. We're not going to argue anymore. And it's like that, you know what I mean? But now I don't know if those same messages are always out there, but I think you can find them in film and TV, and it works best when you're not getting hit over the head by the message. You know what I mean? It's just subtly woven within the story. You know what I mean? Because there is, when you think of films, like, and a lot of historical films back in the day, right? And the thing that would always make me laugh, like stuff with the royal family and stuff like that, and it'd be like, and you know, and the Queen will be making a decision. She's just like, I'm going to sign, you know, the Treaty of Versailles into play, and you know, I think racism is bad and evil, and you'll be like, wait, did she say that? I don't know if she said that. Because, you know, they've got the Commonwealth, right? They've been sitting on slavery for a long ass time. I don't know if they're saying that shit, but that's what you're being told, right? It's because the good person can't have any faults, right? They have to be seen to speak, talking on all of these topics. And you're just like, you know, I don't think the Queen is saying, and I believe trans people are just people. Yeah, I don't think the Queen said that. You know, right? I don't think that was a thing back then, right? But they're trying to put it in and cram it in and have like say these things, and you're just like, what is going on, right? Like,
With the going back to like the archive too, it's like that's why I love archival research and documentaries so much, because you're going back to historical accounts and looking at what happened. You're not changing what happened. It's not rewriting the history. It's looking at it, ugliness and all of what it was, and like actually learning to make things better. Like there is a way to move forward without ignoring or whitewashing the past, to acknowledge it and to heal from it and to do better now. Like I think that there's always a way to do better, and to see a way forward with full acknowledgement of the things that happened that were so wrong. And sometimes I feel like there's a fear to do that because it could be offensive now. But again, what do they say? The truth sets you free. Like looking at the full thing and learning from that, and not trying to change it or have a narrative now that's whitewashes history. I think that's really important. I think we have to move forward with an accurate depiction of that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, I think sometimes people don't want to do it because they're just like, wait, if we acknowledge the things we've done wrong,
yeah,
kind of.
Well, they feel bad. I think people feel bad and they sit with it. It's okay to sit with feeling bad. That's okay. Like you could feel bad and then you move past it and get better. You push things to evolve in a better way. And that's why I think it's like, let's not get stuck in that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. definitely. And yeah, again, that's why Charlotte's message at the end is so impactful, which is just, man, just a great way to end things. Mm.
Kevin, I really like your takeaways from it and the way that you experienced the film. It's very on point of what we were working towards.
I mean, I just think it's so clear, though. You know what I mean? Like you're watching it, and I just think it's like like it is always that thing, right? You're fascinated by a story and how it is put together, and you do wonder sometimes. You're like, oh, are they trying to say this? Right? And you're just like, oh, I wonder if that's exactly what they're trying to say, because you don't want to like put words in people's mouths and because I see that happen all the time. But so that's why this is always great, because then you get to ask those questions and be like, yo, in this bit when you did this, were you trying to like show, blah 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 blah, and then it'll be, oh, you what? Okay, awesome. But yeah, I do think, like, I don't think it's a long road to see what you're doing with this film. I do think people will be able to get it and watch it and enjoy it. And I think, as I said, all the components of the film are done so well. Even like the wardrobe, right? I think the wardrobe and everything looks from the time, and when you factor in what is going on, because sometimes, like with this film, you'll have Israel wake up in the desert in a shiny white shirt, and you're like, okay, he's lying in the desert. The desert is very dirty. He's just been through a war, a fight, this big fight. There's no blood. There's no dirt. His clothes look, they've just come off the peg. Hmm. Right? But you didn't do that shit, which I was so glad about. Right? And it looks so real and you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like, watching this, does everything work so well? Like the score, just everything, just the kind of the background noise and sounds and just everything, right? The way I just love the kind of see the one thing with trying to talk about film with not studying it or knowing it. Like, I don't know what you call certain shots. So I go, the shot where you go, woo, and you go around. You know what I mean? But like your panning shots and things like that were just, it just draws you into some of these things, and you know what I mean? And it just works so well. It works so well. And being your first goddamn feature film is tremendous.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Like, that is so good to hear, because it's been a long journey and post took a long time. And I'm so glad that it's finally coming out and people are going to see it. And we're actually in a festival in London in November. Like, I can't announce which one it is, but it's November. I don't have the exact screening date, but it's like the second week in November. It
Okay.
will be in London. I'm going to try to make it too.
Oh,
To come to
definitely
London.
do that.
Yeah.
Definitely do that. You know, it'd be good to hear some more stories and stuff about things I have no clue about. That would be great.
What premiere are you headed out to?
Which one?
You said you're headed out to a premiere, or you
Oh
had a
no, I'm just going to this advanced screening of something, but I'm not quite sure what it is.
oh, fun.
Yeah, like
Okay.
the Odeon. Oftentimes, if you're like a Limitless member, they'll put on an advanced screening of a film, but they don't tell you what it is.
Okay. That is super
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
So, sometimes they do, like I went to see The Mentalist and Edison and wait, was it Edison? Was it called Edison? I know it began with an E. The one with Pedro Pascal and
Oh, Eddington.
Eddington. Yes,
Yeah.
Eddington. But yeah, sometimes like I saw Together, but they didn't say it was going to be Together.
Did you like that one, Together?
I like the idea, right? And I thought the chemistry between Brie and
Dave Franco, right?
that's it. Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. Didn't know they were married, right? That makes so much sense because yeah, that worked very well. But the one thing I think could have really, I thought would have brought it like more impactful for me was the fact of we have this thing where there's this fraction between them. But I think if you push that a little bit more, right? So they're split, it's done. And now they can't, now they're stuck together. Then that makes it even more, you know what I mean? Because it's
Mhm.
just like they wanted to be apart, but now they're just stuck. I think that would have really kind of brought it home to another
Mhm.
level, you know. But I thought it was shot well. I thought the idea is great, and as I say, the chemistry was really good. The acting was very good. What
Yeah,
did
they're
you
both
did
great.
you
Yeah.
did you enjoy that one?
I didn't watch it yet. I just know a lot about it because so many people have talked about it with me, and I'm so fascinated to see it. So I'm
Ah,
like, and I had already guessed the ending. They're like, I'm like, because I watched the preview. I'm like, so is this what happens? They're like, how'd you know? I'm like,
yeah,
I can tell with, but I
yeah,
do want to see it. I do want to see it because I think like it's a very interesting concept. And when you make something literal based
yeah,
off of,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
interesting. It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, they do give way too much away in trailers. I hate trailers. I
I,
always try and get to the cinema late so I avoid the trailers
oh my
because
gosh, that's quite smart because I've noticed that too, where it's like I don't even want to watch the trailer now because it will turn me off from the film.
yeah.
Like, keep us wanting more. Like, what's next?
Mhm.
Like, don't show the whole thing. I don't understand why that changed, but I
I
try not
know.
to read
It's
reviews
crazy.
either if I
Oh
want to
no,
see
never,
yeah.
never, never. I will not do that because I'm like, they will tell you a film is rubbish, and then you see it and you're like, I like that. I don't know what you're talking of. Like, what were
Yeah,
you expecting?
yeah.
Like, what?
What did you think of Civil War?
I thought Civil War was good. The one thing that I did was frustrating a bit at the end was not the very end, not the Ruffalo end, but it was oh god, I cannot think of the lead's name.
Kirsten Dunst?
That's it, Kirsten. Was her character. What happened to her character was kind of the fault of the other girl. You know what I mean?
But it was like harkening back to the setup that Alex wrote when they're at the helicopter parking lot and she's like asks the question, right? And so
Yeah.
then you see it happen and unfold, and maybe it's a little heavy-handed. I liked it, but it is that girl's
Mm.
fault. I mean, but she has to carry that with her now. That's now marked her soul as a
It it
journalist.
it does, but
Mhm.
I kind of feel there should be a bit of like, "Yo, what did you do?" or something, like, just to kind of because I feel in the moment, right? If we're running and someone kind of holds you up and then then I'm gonna be like, "Yo, what the fuck? What did you do? God damn it!" Like, you're still going to get them to safety, but it's just like that didn't have to happen. Pay
Right, right.
attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I loved how I love how he showed her background through the flashbacks and when she was in the bath and she sees all the violence that she documented.
yeah.
There's a,
Yeah,
like,
no, that
very powerful moments in that film that was, like, he really built her character where you felt like you knew her
yeah,
and her complexity and why she was hardened, and then how she's now passing the torch to is it Kaylee? I forgot her name in the movie, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
very, very effective.
Mm, that's very good. I'm glad you said that because it I wanted to ask you a thing about flashbacks. So the fact that because yes, but the flashbacks in Civil War were very good because it did help paint this picture of where she is now. And so, you know what I mean? That was so like Ooh,
And it
that's
was
very.
once, right? There's like a very minimal sequence,
Mm,
unforgettable minimal sequence of her flash of the backstory. And I thought it was very effective.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And I like the flashbacks in your film, and the way they give us this new insight into Israel. But what I was wondering was, when shooting flashbacks, right? Like, we need scenes to kind of show this, right?
Mhm.
Are you like, okay, all right, let's do a bit where they're sitting on a swing, so we'll just film people sitting on a swing? Or
That's
do
a
you
good question.
create a longer sequence? Because I'm thinking, because it's just like, you could shoot them sitting on a swing, but then once you're in post and you're putting it all together, you're like, oh, that angle doesn't quite fit with how we're doing this, or what they're saying in that bit doesn't quite work. Oh, fuck. Like,
That so
so do you shoot a longer bit so then you've got more scope on what you use and how it can fit in?
Yeah, that is a good question because that those flashbacks there one of them was in the script and the rest I created as we were shooting. So I told the first AD and our art director and production designer, Roderick Stevens and Rusty, I was like, I know we are going to need more familial flashback to build texture to his life, but please stand by. I don't know exactly what we're going to shoot yet. So I had
Mm,
to, based on the location that we were at this old movie studio called Mezcal Movie Set, and it's very dilapidated. They were going to knock it over, and this guy was like, "No, I'm going to invest in it. Let's build it back up." And so they're in the process of getting more films to shoot there. And we had this one old hotel, and I think they shot parts of Tombstone there.
ooh,
So we had the one scene where he talks to his wife and he's like telling her I have to go fight. That was in the script. Everything else I created from memory, like, and that little boy's my son. So it was like we wanted to have stuff that showed their interaction as a family, but within that one location.
yeah,
So we did like the bedroom, the porch, the living room, and there's even stuff that's not in the film that we shot, but we just didn't have it. We didn't really need it. But yes, I just free roll. I'll be with Evan and we'll have a setup and I'll say, okay, now you guys are going to you're going to act like you're a family. Just read to him. So like the actors will naturally find things. And we had little toys for Levi. We had the books for them to look at and read. We had a horse. Like, so it was almost like they were just finding the interaction, having fun with it
yeah.
without it being super set up or scripted.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it all feels very natural. You do buy the family unit. You know what I mean? So you buy all of these things. So when he's thinking and reading the diary and just all of this stuff, it really does. And then, because you've got him like maybe going to Moses, be like, huh, brr, you fight for the wrong side, like, brr. But then you see this different side and you're just like, oh. Yeah, because that's what he's trying to get home to. That's the
Yes.
thing that
Yeah.
has kept him going all this time.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, yeah, and it was a challenge. I think we shot the flashbacks our very last day.
Oh,
So,
right.
like, because Damian had facial hair the whole thing, and then he shaved for the flashbacks, and I was like,
Right.
"That's such a transfer." I'm like,
Maybe.
"You look so different without your facial hair. The transformation sells it."
Yes. Yeah, yeah. You have to think about, because I remember when I forget what Superman it was. It was with Henry Caviezel, right? Is Henry Caviezel? I feel it's
Uh,
Henry Caviezel.
uh, oh gosh,
He's the Witcher. He was the Witcher as well.
what's that
That
guy's
was Henry.
name?
Is that Henry?
I know exactly who you're talking about. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
I almost want to look it up, but
Oh, god damn it.
Henry Cavill.
That,
That's
yes, boom.
yeah.
Awesome. Nice. Because yeah, because they then realized they had to do some reshoots, but he had a mustache for something else he was filming. And so they're just like, we need to do this reshoot. And I think then they spent a whole load of money like CGing it out. But it was this whole big thing of, because I think at the beginning they were going to get him to shave it, and the other films people were like, you will not get him to shave his mustache because that fucks up our film. And so it was this whole big thing. And so
Well, that we ran into that too because we did a pickup of the battle sequence that last. We had a half a pickup day, and
oh,
the makeup department, they did an excellent job with recreating his facial hair. Because he shaved, and then we had a battle sequence where he has all his facial hair. They recreated his facial hair with his own hair,
oh, right.
and she did a great job of making it look very natural, and I was impressed.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really, oh man. Yo, so going forward, if you have to have someone shave, are you gonna get them to shave into a bag? Like, yo, just in case, yeah.
I feel like she did his actual hair. I have to remember exactly what she did. Because maybe it was like he had shaved and saved it, and it was part of his hair. I have to remember, but they crafted it together on this. I was impressed because I was like, this looks real, and I don't like CGI for everything.
Mm,
I don't even I don't use it. I wanted the blood spray to be real. I didn't want it to be CGI. So we didn't do it CGI because it was like, to me it looks so fake still. I'm trying.
how did you do it? Because that was, yeah.
We had an old-fashioned rig that is a little pipe that the actor can squeeze and the blood will squirt out.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so when he's on, so when I don't want to give it all away, but it's like when he's on when Lieutenant Barrett is shot. Well, you see in the preview when he's shot, the actor is actually a stunt guy, Noah Woods. So as he was there, he was like squeezing the rig, and the blood was squirting out like it had gotten his artery. And so that's how he did it. And then I think the initial hit, we had somebody off camera pump the thing so it would just go. Because we had
Right.
I think we had 3 setup angles of that shot, of the next shot. So then there was like one that didn't look great, and then getting it to work right was a little tricky. I know why people don't do it because it's time consuming, but it was important. I wanted it to look real.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I mean, it works. It
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
works.
But Kevin, I really have enjoyed this conversation. It's been great.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you giving me your time. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. How can people, first see the film and then keep track of you and everything? Because I think after this, everyone wants to know what the hell you're gonna do next.
I'm very much Ron and I, who's the writer of this, he has another really cool historical drama based on a true time in our history in the United States during World War II, and it's
Okay.
a very fascinating time. It's very sad too, but there was German prisoner of war camps in our country, and a lot of Americans don't know that. So it's the story of one of these camps that was right next to a Japanese American internment camp.
Oh,
And it was a very dark time in our history, what happened after Pearl Harbor. But it's a story of that world, and it's a love story within that, and it's loosely based on a true story.
okay.
But it kind of shows, what was going on at that time, and a lot of how the German prisoners, a lot of them stayed in the United States. They didn't go back.
Whoa.
So yeah, it was Camp Trinidad in Colorado. Camp Trinidad was next to Camp Amachi. And so they were very close to each other, and they were both working and laboring on the sugar beet fields.
Right.
And so they were interacting and meeting.
Yeah.
And the Americans were so concerned that the American prisoners of war would get treated badly. So they wanted to treat the German prisoners of war well, to make sure that their men would be protected if they were captured. So that was
Yeah.
part of what was at play. But yeah, Ron has written a really beautiful script. It got a few awards and a second Award at the Austin Film Festival. So we're looking at that one next. And then we are releasing streaming. We're releasing The War Between November 25th. And prior to that, we're doing a theatrical release in Arizona and then some festivals. Like we'll be in one festival in London, one in Spain, and then a few here in California, and then Tallgrass in Wichita, and St. Louis International as well. So there's like, we'll be announcing this, and then everything's on our social media too. So there's the website for thewarbetweenfilm.com, the Instagram, The War Between Film, and then my personal handle is DebDirects on Instagram. So all of that information is available with those social media handles and website.
Okay. Oh, tremendous. Thank you, people. So all the links will be on the website. So make sure that you go through, check out the website. There's a lot on the website. The website's good. I use that for your director's statement and all of that. So do that and follow Deborah and the film on the socials, because that film, right? The new film, this new idea sounds fantastic. It sounds interesting, something we haven't necessarily seen before. But just on the way Deborah filmed this one, we want to know what she does next, right? And see some of your past work, like that first documentary. You know what I mean? Just, it'd be great to see some of that. So, people, follow Deborah Correa, because she is definitely a voice we want to hear more from.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Hey, no worries, man. Just keep doing your thing, because I want to see more.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. This has been lovely.
Awesome. Thank you. And if you come to London, let me know.
I will.
Awesome. Well, Deborah, it has been so great talking to you. Thank you for your time and all the success for this, because I know people are definitely going to gravitate and enjoy The War Between.
Thank you.
All right. You take care, okay?
You too.
All right. Bye.